Get your dancing shoes on, muddy funsters. It's Thursday night. And we are going to do it like they do in Scunthorpe. Oh yes. What are you doing with that wooden spoon? Oh, don't spank me again, teacher. I wasn't late for school. Where's that Mr George Rogerbotty? And that's quite enough of that. Good evening and welcome to me and Windy Bum, from where, once again, and with enormous, verging on orgasmic joy, I have the great pleasure to be coming in your eyes and ears. It's Thursday evening, it's 11 o'clock, and here we are again. My goodness me, life doesn't get much better than this, does it? So, how are we all? How has your Thursday been? Talk to me. Tell me all of the gossip. Tell me what you've been up to. Tell me what you've been eating. Tell me the best part about today, and tell me what you are looking forward to tomorrow. Oh, and here's a little question for you that I've probably asked before, but it's one of my favourite little quiz questions. Oh, I have done it before, haven't I? Well, never mind. We'll do it again, see who remembers. Who were the first three acts, can be solo acts or groups, whose first three single records all went to #1 on the UK charts? Who were the first three acts who achieved that feat? Now then, oh, well, first things first. Cheers, my loves. Your very good health. It's a huge pleasure to be here, hanging out with you. I hope you've got a little glass of something, and if you haven't, treat yourself. Maybe you only fancy a cup of coffee or a tea, but let's all have a bit of something together, shall we? A beverage of choice. You'll never guess what I'm having. It's a dry white wine, but whatever you're having, I hope you enjoy it, and I'm sure you've bloody earned it. It's been we're coming towards the end of the week. I'm sure we've all had our trials and tribulations, which is a word that I sometimes like to pronounce tribulation, just for the sheer hell of it, because I can, and you can too. Anyway, I'm going to drink this and stop talking for a minute. Oh, that's nice. That's my first sip of the night. It's been a busy one tonight, my loves. And, oh, yes. Excuse me for one moment. There we are. That's that over with. I know it's slightly rude to evacuate my nose in your direction, but sometimes needs just must. And they musted then, my loves. And, we should be relaxed at this point. If you need to blow your nose, please go ahead. I don't mind. As I've said before, it's easy street here. We can be relaxed and at home with each other, can't we? Put your feet up. Scratch whatever you fancy scratching. Now then, I am now going to have a little look at the comments. Predominantly That's an interesting word, isn't it? Predominantly. That's 5 syllables. So if I wanted to mime that to you using the old give us a clue methodology, tricky one that, I would have to use all 5 digits of one hand on my opposing forearm. Can you think of a 5-syllable word? TP, good evening to you. Jimmy Quinn, how lovely. Steve Cole, what a joy. Simone can't be asked to join us. She's watching Star Wars. Underscore is here, and he is blessing us with his incredibly magnetic alpha male allure that I'm sure we can all feel oozing through our devices. George Rogerbotty is here, of course. It wouldn't be the same without him. Rover Joe is here. Fabulous. Good evening. The wonderful Trace is here. What a joy. Oh, all of the best people. You really are such top of the range community members. I think the world of you. I really do. Black Lines is here. Bad Books. Oh yeah, adverts. I've worked out how to put adverts on. So yes, you've had an advert. Sorry about it. Well, sorry, hashtag not sorry. Yeah, what's an advert? It won't kill you. I watched mine. I didn't buy anything, and it's all good. Mike is with us. The lovely Classic Wheels Wales. What? Do it like they do it in Scunthorpe, says George. I don't even have a sister. You've been to Scunthorpe then, Rogerbotty. Chaz Brown is here, wonderful, and says, yo, evening, Mr. Boaty. Watched your latest video tonight of you in a Rover 75 estate. Looked fun. Yeah, that was, I'm going to get, I know I'm going to get some stick for that video. I just know I am. Right, it's something that we did on the hoof. It wasn't planned at all. We were going for lunch last Monday. The lovely Johnny Two Scoops on a whim had popped along to the yard, and so we decided to take him out for lunch and use his petrol. We did buy him lunch, so fair is fair. And then we thought, so I thought, well, I might as well film it in a half-assed way just for a bit of fun. I was thinking it was going to be part of the lunch video because I hadn't done anything. There weren't any camera mounts or anything set up in the car. I'm just holding a phone, buggering about and not doing it remotely seriously. But the thing is, car reviews, they get jolly good numbers on YouTube. You can see car reviews from a channel that's got like a couple of hundred subscribers, and whose videos only get like less than 100 views, and they put a car review on there and it gets 70,000 or something astronomical like that. And so when I was editing up today, I thought, just for a laugh, I'll do the video, which I think is funny if you've got the same sort of humour as me and Mustard, and Johnny, fortunately, as it turns out. And if you kind of know us, then yeah, it's funny. It's a typical slice of us. But the thing was, I thought, for a laugh and for a bit of cheek, in the title and the description and the thumbnail, I'll make it look as if we've done an actual proper review, to see if I can hit some numbers. But I know I'm going to get some grief. I know it'll get some views outside of you normal victims of mine, and I know it's going to kill my like percentage because people are going to watch it because of the title and thumbnail. They're going to. I even tagged Furious Driving in it to drive an extra little bit of traffic. And they're going to think that it's a proper review, and they're going to click into it, and they're going to see us pair of arseholes buggering about. and they're going to say, where's that dislike button? I will never watch a single second from this idiot again. But sometimes you have to just not care and do things just for shits and giggles. I'm a big fan of doing things just for shits and giggles. And remember, it's all shits and giggles until someone giggles and shits. Where did I get to? Matt is asking how I am, and I'm okay, Matt. It's very kind of you to ask. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm probably just a smidge above average, actually. I'm certainly average, and my average is good, great, happy, contented, cheerful. That is my usual mindset. That's a mindset I try and I've just had another thought. Don't answer this if you don't want to, but do any of you or have any of you suffered with any form of depression, anxiety, or similar? I wouldn't mind talking about that at some point. Maybe not tonight, but just talking about my average mindset. And I was just about to say that that's my normal mindset because I force it to be, using various little tricks and techniques. And the reason that I do that is because I have a personality that does have tendencies to. Anyway, we can talk about all of that if you'd like to. If anybody would be remotely interested. 50 seconds of ads left. How are you, Matt? Sorry, I forgot to ask how you were. Engelbert Humperdinck. Well, that's a bit of a non sequitur. I do enjoy a non sequitur, but I've got no idea why Black Lines has just said Engelbert Humperdinck. I mean, it's not an unpleasant thing to say. It's an interesting collection of letters, and it's an interesting couple of made-up words. What was his real name? Was it Jerry Dorsey? Am I right in saying that? I imagine that he's a lot shorter than I imagine him to be. Although if you think about that sentence that I have just uttered, in all sincerity and good faith, that probably doesn't make sense in at least one pivotal way. Oh, we've got a guess on the right. Frankie Goes to Hollywood says Trace, Beatles and Spice Girls. Now, that's a guess on the who were the first three acts whose first three singles all became UK number ones. And Trace, you have got one out of the three, but I'm not going to tell you which one. So there you go. Rover Joe's on the orange juice. A message held for review already. How exciting. And there's no reason for it to be held for review. How disappointing. Bieber and what? Bieber and Len. Oh, sorry. That's what the Engelbert Humperdinck was. It was a guess. Engelbert Humperdinck, no. Bieber, no. Lennon, no. Oh, Jimmy Quinn had spaghetti bolognese tonight. I haven't had spaghetti bolognese for ages, and I should. It's one of those things that when I have it, I think, why have I not had this for so long? I love this. I adore this. And I haven't had it for ages. Nag me. Make sure that by this time next week, I've had at least one spaghetti bolognese, please, if you don't mind. Now, last week, I noticed when I did Boaty's Noshes, I didn't have a Chinese chicken curry last week, and I'm not sure if I had one the week before. So I'm having one tonight, come hell or high water. That is my pledge to you. And you know me, I'm not one to go back on a pledge lightly. Another message held for review. This is exciting. Oh, it's Ivor Spotty Botty, our friend from down under. Hello, Boaty and everyone. Can't stay long at work on my morning smoko. Now, I can help you out here, chums. A smoko is what the Australians call what I call smokies, or a smoke break. I call it smokies. Have done for a while now. I don't think it's an actual thing apart from in my little world. And Boo used to take the piss out of me for saying, should we have a smokies? And then she started saying it and people took the piss out of her. So that taught her a lesson. That was karma kicking her up her beautiful little arse. And she did have and probably still has an absolutely fantastic arse. She used to plaster it all over the internet and make money from it. It was absolutely wonderful. Anyway, it's a very warm and sunny day in Melbourne. And I'll say this before I go. Tits, nipples, Ivor Spotty Botty, you have absolutely grasped the nucleus of what this live stream is all about. I am proud to have created a space where random people can come along and shout tits and nipples and spank me harder with a wooden spoon without anybody thinking that it's in any way weird. So that's absolutely splendid. Oh, Mike had gyros tonight. How exotic in a Greek fashion. Nathan is with us, wonderful. Ron McCulloch has graced us with his presence, and what a joy it is to have him. And he's giving us a piece of his trademark Leyland National Bus information, which I will now read out. 5-speed, wide ratio, pneumocyclic gearbox with semi-automatic control. That is what I would love to get my hands on. There's not much in this world that I'm jealous of Mr. Ian Hubnut Seabrook for. In fact, there's very little. And that's not to decry him in any way. I'm sure he's a splendid chap who gives entertainment to many. But there's not much that I'm jealous of him for. He lives in Wales, which I'm a little bit jealous of because I'm Welsh, and there's a Welsh word and it's called hiraeth. Oh, and that reminds me, Liz wants me to do something. I was supposed to do it the other night and I forgot. I promise I'll do it tonight. There's a Welsh word called hiraeth, and there's not really a direct translation for it. It kind of means a deep longing for home somewhere deep in your soul. It's like homesickness multiplied by 10,000 million. And I often feel the hiraeth to a certain extent. But I absolutely adore where I am now as well. So I'm a little bit jealous of Hubnut for living in Wales. But there's not much that I'm jealous of him for. But the one thing I am jealous of him for is he has driven a Leyland National. And that is something that I would dearly, dearly, dearly love to do. Which means that I will make an effort to do it at some point, preferably before death. It wouldn't be so much fun afterwards for me or anybody else who happened to be on the bus. Many things are better before death, although you wouldn't think so reading some of your comments, you perverted swines. Oh dear. So we said hello to Nation. TP is saying unconstitutional. How many is that? Unconstitutional. 6. You've beaten me, TP. Well done. Penetralia is a 5-syllable word, apparently, says Black Lions. Penetralia. Yeah, it is. And it means the innermost part of a building, a secret or hidden place. Well, I didn't know that. And I'm grateful for that information. Thank you, Black Lines. And I will try to remember that word, penetralia. You'd think that it would mean something very, very different, wouldn't you? I mean, if ever a word was a mix-up of penetration and genitalia, then penetralia is. I would have thought that penetralia would and should mean penetrating genitalia. And I'd like to know why it doesn't. And it seems to me a bit weird that it doesn't. But there we are. Steve Colg has watched 7 adverts since I've been here. Steve, thank you so much, mate. You have just earned me about 1/100th of a penny, and I thank you for that. Carl Davis is here. Hello to you too. Get a professional thumbnail, says Rover Joe, and it should get more clicks. Yeah, but that would involve spending money to get somebody to do it for me. I can't spend money. I haven't got any money to spend. And I wouldn't know where to go to get a professional thumbnail. My thumbnails aren't too bad, are they? I mean, I think most people do their own thumbnails, don't they? And, you know, I think mine are passable. Some of them are even amusing when I have a mad moment and decide to stick some random crap on there. Chris Alderman is with us, and that's lovely. And he says, hi, Boaty. I'm enjoying delicious meals at Mum's. Well, you can't beat your mother's cooking, unless you're me, because my mother couldn't cook to save her bloody life. She was jolly good at eating out then. Don't forget to like the video, says TP. Thank you for the reminder. I won't. I will like it. SKIK, or Skik, or a Skik, says, would you consider working with Mustard full-time, using your talent for buying cars and YouTube presentations? Well, that's an interesting question, and I think I speak for Mustard when I say that that is kind of the dream. And yes, I absolutely would, if it paid. That's the trouble, you see. It has to pay. But yeah, absolutely I would. That would be that would kind of be the ultimate dream, really. Getting a place. It wouldn't be at the. I don't think it would be at the Yard of Dreams. Mustard can't imagine anywhere beyond that. He can only imagine buying that and having all of it to himself. I can imagine being somewhere completely different that's easier to get in and out of without trying to pull out onto that road, and with a better surface and with better facilities. But yeah, having some sort of yard with some sort of office space, and doing that full time, playing about with Rovers, buying and selling and making silly videos together, of course I'd do it. It'd be a dream come true. And in our own half-assed way, that's maybe we're not actually working towards it, but we're at the very least hoping it might happen. You know, who knows? Stranger things have happened. People do make their living off YouTube. But yeah, I would love that. Have you ever found a slug in your kitchen? Yes, once. Liz is with us. Hello everyone, sorry I'm late. Oh, Rover Joe, do you? We can talk about that, mate. We can talk about that. It doesn't have to be a hidden thing. I'm perfectly happy to be very open about my doings, and also my way of dealing with them. And I have a little training and insight. I did study psychology academically. I have worked. I've worked in PICU, in the psychiatric intensive care unit. I am mental health trained. I've worked in and around mental health all of my adult life, either professionally or on a voluntary basis, and obviously with my mother and with my wife, and so on and so on and so on. And you know, we don't have to focus on it, but I think it would be good to chuck it into the mix now and then, because well, you know, it's something else that we can support each other in, and maybe either I or somebody else have got some little hints, tips or tricks, or even insights that might help. I'll do this before I move on. Because in my experience, a lot of people who experience what are now called, well, people just call it mental health, which is a nonsense because everybody has mental health. Mental health can be good, it can be bad, it's just, you know, it's an all-encompassing umbrella term. But I think a lot of people don't understand how it works, and this is the way that I normally explain it to people. You've got three elements in your brain. You have, I have, we all have. And I want you to imagine them like a football match, right? Now, on the one side of the pitch, you've got your ego. And your ego is, as you almost certainly know, will tell you that you're wonderful, that anything is possible, etc., etc., etc. But too much ego or an unchecked ego can be a bad thing, hence the term egomaniac, and so on and so on. I will cut this short, guys, in case you're not interested. On the other side of the pitch, you've got something called the id, and the id is the opposite. The id will make you fearful, will make you doubt yourself, will make you question yourself, will always look at the worst case scenario. It's a downer, and this is an upper. And then in the middle of the pitch, you've got something called superego, which is a referee. And it's the superego's job to keep a balance between the two. And that balance is a chemical balance, right? Because that's how the brain works. That's what it's fueled on. It's not fueled on Weetabix directly. It's fueled on chemicals. Now, like a set of scales, there is never an exact equilibrium, or seldom an exact equilibrium between the ego and the id. You know, it's normal in life to get that. Sometimes you're a bit down, sometimes you're a bit up. The superego's job is to make sure that the scales don't go too far in either direction. But remember, that's a chemical balance. Now, talking about depression, very broadly speaking, there are two types of depression. There's reactive depression and there's chronic depression. Now, chronic depression is when there is when there is an inherent and constant or chronic chemical imbalance within the brain. And that's the sort of thing that really can probably only be successfully addressed by by a chemical nature. So that means medication. But reactive depression is a perfectly normal and healthy thing. And it's simply a reaction to anything that's going on around you. So if you get some shit going on in your life, whatever that might be, whether it's a divorce, whether it's your child's illness, whether it's losing a parent, whether it's your car breaking down, whether it's being short of money and not, you know, worrying about the gas, whatever it happens to be, that's a reactive depression. And it's entirely natural that that would make the scales go in that one direction. And, you know, things can happen in life where that can be almost a constant, or you can have a predilection towards it almost. And what I've found, and I'm only talking about myself, but there are organic ways that you can alter the chemical situation within your brain, right? Now, you will probably know this. Now, you can do it with alcohol, you can do it with drugs, and, you know, obviously that's not necessarily the best way to go. Certainly on a long-term basis, it's not a good crutch to use. But there are other things that you can do, and those are the things that I do. So I'm going to shut up about this now and get back to other happier stuff. But I am glad to talk about this. So, order and routine are brilliant things, absolutely brilliant things. when you're on a bit of a downer and the id is in control, the id will tell you to sit on your ass and do nothing. And it's worth fighting that with order and routine. So if you get into a routine of doing things at a certain time, or always doing things, whatever those things are, whether it's making the bed, whether it's washing up after you've eaten a meal rather than waiting until the next meal, whether it's checking the levels on your car, whatever it happens to be. And if you have that as a routine, then when you're feeling down, when the id is holding sway, and you carry out your normal daily routine, walking the dog, whatever it happens to be, that actually helps. That brings the scales up a bit, because you're beating your id. You're not allowing it to control you. You're fighting against it. You're pulling the scales back like that. And other things that I find help are deliberately taking joy in everything that you can. So, you know, it might be a perfectly normal day. There might be nothing exceptional going on, but just taking joy in simple things. Food is one of my big ones. You know, a lot of you have been kind enough to say that I eat well and that my meals look well. I haven't always. But I found that making the effort to eat well and taking a little bit of pride in it and taking the time to plan and to learn a little bit, and then the sense of satisfaction that I get and the sheer pleasure I get from good food as opposed to just food to keep me alive, that really helps with that balance on a daily basis. It always gives me something to look forward to. And remember, I know that you'll talk about money. I do it on a super tight budget. You might have seen a couple of my videos. Most of my meals come out at less than £1 a meal, which is less than, you know, a pin cuisine bit of microwave food. But what amazing good it does for your mental health. And you know, the thing about taking a picture, I know a lot of people will give you grief about that. Oh, it should be on Instagram and all of that nonsense. And I've had my fair share of that. But making the effort to make the dish look nice, it works on a million different levels. It makes you make an effort. That battles the id. It gives you satisfaction. That battles the id. It gives you a sense of pride. That battles the id. And it tells you that you're worth the effort and that you're worth the end result, which is important when your id is holding sway and telling you that you're a complete waste of time arsehole and your life is dreadful and you might as well jump out into the middle of the road in front of a truck. So I'll shut up about all of that now and carry on with you guys. Apologies if that bored the tits off you. Matt stuck a photo of a freshly washed, not by me, Streetwise on one of the Facebook groups, and it got a very appreciated amount of likes. Well, I saw that. That was on Mustard's group, and I must admit I thought it was yours, but apparently not, or it was yours and somebody else watched it. Ivor, my sympathies. I'm sorry to hear that, but we can keep talking. We can keep talking about this stuff. Doesn't have to take over everything, but if we're aware that, you know, we're not in it together, and, you know, you might think that you might watch a live stream of happy, smiley people, or be in a room of happy, smiley people and think, I'm the only one that feels like this. And it's quite good to know that, yeah, you're not. And if one of you guys is having a bad day, then you should feel free to shout it out. And we'll all be here for you. Just as, you know, it's just part of the community thing. It doesn't have to be a downer. It doesn't have to stop us doing other stuff. But if you're having a bad day, just bloody well let us know. Because you're part of us. You're having a bad day. And that means, you know, it's a thing. And it's a thing that we all need to share. And if we can lift you out of yourself by giving you some sort of abuse or making you laugh or something, then so much to the better. Oh, Matt's very well, that's good to know. TP, when my parents died only 3 years apart, I forced myself to do stuff. A-level art saved me. Well, I feel that pain. My parents went quite closely together, and They were very difficult years after Mum went, because at that point Dad just gave up. Simone's making a cuppa, so if anybody wants a cuppa, give her a shout. SKIK, yeah, another one on the subject. James Wilson is with us. Sarah Parsons is here. How lovely. Sarah is one of those that has nipped over from my singles network that I must confess I've been somewhat neglecting of late, because I've been spending so much time here with you guys. I would really like to bring the two together a little, or at least create a very good entry part from singles to here, so that you know, those guys can participate in a slightly different environment that hasn't got such a, you know, we're all single, and sometimes a slightly down dynamic to it, because there are a lot of people in the singles network who are single, really don't want to be single, and mistakenly, in my view, believe that the only answer to happiness is not being single. And I think that's nonsense. If you can't be happy single and on your own, you're never going to be happy in a relationship, as far as I'm concerned. But there we are. A mate of mine from school reckons he met although it's easy for you to say, Engelbert Humperdinck's granddaughter on a dating app. Perfectly possible. Oh, and it's spag bol tonight for Liz in honour of his noodly wonderfulness. Yeah, well, I've been, as I mentioned, rather ignoring his noodly wonderfulness in terms of worshipping it via the gift of spaghetti. Oh, and Sarah loves spag bol and carbonara. Well, I think spaghetti bolognese should be one of the official community dishes, really, which is a bit hypocritical, given that I haven't cooked it for about 6 months. We should have a spag bol thing, a theme. Get on the Facebook group, Boaty's World on Facebook, if you're not a member, and show us your spag bol. Get your spag bol out. Let's have a look at it. You show me mine, and I'll show you. I'll show me yours. And here's a spag bol question, right? Do you serve it? And this is a question to each and every one of you. When you make spaghetti bolognese, do you serve it with the spaghetti and then the ragu on top, or before serving, do you mix the ragu through the spaghetti, you know, after the olive oil and black pepper? Obviously, you're not savages. And then serve it as a splodge. Now, one of those is arguably the correct way, according to the Italians. But which do you do? I'd like to know. Trace again. I do know Frankie's first 3 went to #1. I was a massive fan, so I don't know the others. Right. Well, you're absolutely correct, Trace. Frankie Goes to Hollywood. They are one of the first 3 acts whose first 3 singles all became UK #1s. And if you want a clue, they're the middle one. The first one was before them. The second one came, and the third one came after them. And if you want another clue, the first one were from the same city. There you go. There's a clue for you. Carl had chili, nachos and rice with loads of jalapenos, and it's now being washed down with a bottle of red. Fair play to you. That sounds absolutely bloody fabulous, actually. I do love Mexican food. And again, it's one of the foods I've somewhat neglected. Don't freeze your wine, you muppet. Oh, I must do that thing for Liz. Shall I do it now before I forget? Do I need another device to look at? Possibly. I posted a little bit of poetry on my own Facebook thing, and Liz asked me to read it out so that she could get how the names should be pronounced, because there were some Welsh names in there. And I know the rest of you hate poetry, but I don't care. I'm going to do it because she asked me to. And it'll only last about 12 seconds. Much like a windy bottom podgering, if you include the apology and the cigarette. Bear with. I'm employing another device. Now, where was it? Oh, that food looks nice. Ah, okay. Right, this is what Liz asked me to read out. You watch me get it wrong now and make a complete arse of myself. It's only a couple of lines, don't worry, loves, it'll soon be over. It'll soon be over and we can crack on with the other stuff. Okay, a glass of wine required for this. Right. By Cada Idris tempest torn, or moil or oisva's glory, Carneth Llewellyn beauty born, Plinlimmon old in story. By mountains where King Arthur dreams, by Penmine Mara defiant, Slarregib hill a molehill seems, a pygmy to a giant. There you go, Liz, that was that. Now, back to the comments. I find I get very depressed if I'm dehydrated. It has a huge effect on my mood. Anxiety goes along with it as well. I'm not saying hydration cures depression, it just affects me. Well, I mean, the thing that springs to mind about that black lines is that dehydration can certainly have an effect. There's no question about that. Dehydration can affect lots of things because if the brain becomes dehydrated, it can cause or augment confusion, which is why it really annoys me that if you go into any care home in the country, then they give the elderly residents almost exclusively tea. Now, I know that tea is a comfort to them and a constant, but it needs to be augmented by other fluids because tea is a dehydrant, if you didn't know. With dementia and confusion, dehydration will massively exacerbate the effects. If I was in charge, and I once was, then for every cup of tea, they would also get a glass of cranberry juice, which is one of nature's antidotes to UTIs, urinary tract infections, which the elderly and immobile or certainly incontinent people are particularly prone to, bless them. And cranberry juice is the best defense against that. And it's a good thing for you all to drink. Cranberry juice is an excellent thing. So yeah, dehydration will not do your mood any good. And of course, the other dehydrant, another notable dehydrant is of course alcohol, which whilst it will be a temporary crutch, can, if you're not careful, give you move you to a lower place in the aftermath of the alcohol than you were before you started drinking the alcohol. Now, I'm obviously not anti-alcohol, as you can clearly see. But like everything else, it needs to be, within reason, controlled and moderated with the odd excess. I'm all in favour of the odd excess. I led a very regimented life when I was training, and now I'm a massive fan of the odd excess, as long as, on the whole, you're reasonably reined in. Rover Joe says, I really need to start cooking more things from scratch. We probably all do, and maybe that's something that we should do together. Maybe we should do some cook-alongs, or in the Facebook group again, maybe we should share some of our own easy to make recipes. I've done a couple of vids, and I really should do some more actually. Yeah, maybe we should do more of that. I don't know what you guys' diets are like, but again, well, I spoke about the effect of diet on mental health. Um, so, and I find that cooking is a great thing. Um, you know, in many ways, you are what you eat, and if you eat crap, and you eat crap in a crap way, sitting on your ass watching the television, it's probably not going to be the best thing for you. So maybe we should all make a bit of an effort now and then to cook a nice meal from scratch and to eat it in a nice way at the table, having laid the table with some cutlery and a napkin, and sat either alone or with family or friends, and had a nice European style meal experience rather than eating a microwave curry off a sheet of newspaper on your laps or whatever people do now. My first girlfriend's parents used to do that. They'd sit in front of the telly and they would eat their tea, as they called it, God, off their laps in front of the television. Yeah, that was, I mean, sorry if I sound like a dreadful snob, and in a way I am and in a way I'm not, but after my father was taken poor, I went to, having started out in public school and whatnot, but I ended up in a secondary modern and spent the latter part of my childhood being brought up on a council estate. So in relative poverty. So if there's a snob in me, it's because from an early age I had an absolute desire to do whatever I needed to do to escape that world. Because, I mean, it was great in many ways, and there was a real community thing, and I didn't have an unhappy childhood. But as I got older and saw what else was out there, I realised that it wasn't the life that I wanted for me, or for any children that I might eventually have. And so I started fighting from an early age to get out of it. And my parents, God bless them, if they did nothing else for me, and they did plenty for me, I was blessed with my parents. They were very, very imperfect, very flawed, but also very wonderful, kind of a bit like me. And the one thing that they did for me and that I try to do for my kids, and when I say kids, I mean stepkids. I don't have any biological children, but I've had stepchildren that I raised absolutely as my own. And the thing they did for me is they equipped me to deal with any situation. They would never have wanted me to be made to look or feel less than in any given social scenario because I didn't understand language that was being spoken to me, or because I didn't understand the social etiquette of a given situation. For example, if you're at a posh dinner party and you've got 3 courses worth or 5 courses worth of cutlery in front of you and you don't know which cutlery to use, that sort of thing. Or if there were literary references or yeah, I was given the tools I needed to have a good go at life, and that's something I certainly tried to do, and I flatter myself successfully with my kids. Simone had fish chips and mushy peas for dinner. James says, as requested on live in honour of his noodly amazingness. Oh, Liz has put a photo of a spag wallop in the Facebook group, and I can't see it because I'm doing this. I'll have a look at it when I'm done, Liz. Anyway, James was saying that he loves fish and chips and pudding and chips too, but some folks don't even know what pudding is, and I am one of those folks. I don't know what pudding is. I mean, I know what pudding is in terms of dessert or afters, if you like, but I don't know what a pudding is in the northern sense. I suppose it's like a steak and kidney pudding. Is it like a suet pie type of thing? Scary Spice had a fantastic Trump station. Okay. Cigs are too expensive these days, says Simone of Hooked on Classics, one of our community channels that I will be doing something with in the Facebook group, unless one of you clever people want to do it for me, for which I'd be very grateful. Yeah, cigarettes are tremendously expensive these days, unless you have friends who regularly travel long haul overseas and can keep you regularly supplied by supplied in duty frees. And when I say friends, I do of course mean professional smugglers, although I will deny that. One of the important things I've learned is that in most communities, most towns or most cities, there is an underground network, and you can guarantee that there will be a network of smuggled cheap tobacco, and you just have to get into that, Simone. And then I couldn't afford to smoke. I couldn't afford cigarettes at whatever they are now, 12 quid a packet or something horrendous. So yeah, it's not smart to smoke. That's obvious. I have no choice. I have an abnormal growth hormone. I'm 6'5". If I didn't smoke, which, as we all know, stunts your growth, I'd be at least 17'6". And how would I fit into the Honourable Shison then? I wouldn't, would I? But yeah, that's your answer, Simone. Find a smuggler. Works a treat. Or go to Malta or Spain or Gibraltar over the winter when it's nonsensically cheap, and stock up on fags, and the saving on the fags will cost you a lot less than the trip. So it's like being paid a couple of £100 to have 2 or 3 days in the sun. Where did I get to? What's pudding with chips? Good question, Sarah. Oh, George says, can't say any of my previous lovers have a nice bum anymore. Oh no! Fucking hell! Oh, that's outrageous. Oh, I should have read ahead of that. Oh, Rogerbotty, that's out of order. I'm not reading. It's hilarious, and I'm pretty damn sure I know who you are. I know who you are, you dirty bastard. That is outrageous. Read that comment for yourself. It's hilarious, but I'm not reading it out and incriminating myself. You're a terrible man, Rogerbotty, but I like you. Oh dear. Steve had a meat feast pizza. 7-inch, he's not greedy. Apparently I've insulted Lancastrians. A pudding is a pleasure of steak and kidney in a lovely pastry case. Well, all right then, smart ass. So why is that not a pie, right? Steak and kidney in a pastry case, where I come from, is a pie. So what makes it a pudding? What's the difference? If it's steak and kidney in a pastry case, why is that not a pie? What's so amazing about it that it suddenly becomes a pudding and all special? Hoping up videos are getting a bit boring. Haven't seen one for ages, actually. So maybe I agreed with you and stopped watching them, or maybe I just prefer you lot, or I don't know. But as I've said before, I don't think he's hurting in any way, shape or form. Oh, TP's come up with a wonderful Welsh word, cwtch, cwtch. Now, a cwtch is like, it's a Welsh word and it means a cuddle, but on steroids. A cwtch is the most wonderful. You should all date Welsh people unless you're already dating or married or whatever, because until you've had a cwtch with a proper Welshie, you haven't lived. And a cwtch covers everything from a friendly hug through to a cuddle through to other things. But a cwtch is wonderful. It's one of the true joys of being Welsh. And it looks as if it's difficult to say, and it's not. It's cwtch. Just there's a W in it. Replace that with a U and you'll be able to say it too. Everyone in the north knows what a pudding is, and that's not a dessert. Well, apparently a pudding is a pie, because you said it's steak and kidney in a pastry case, which is a pie. So unless you can come up with some additional evidence to your claim that a pudding is somehow differentiated, then I'm going to go out on a limb and say that a pudding is just a pie, and Lancastrians choose to call it something different for reasons best known to themselves. Oh, is that bleeding again? Oh dear. I'd only be fucking hell, Rogerbotty. Oh dear. And Liz says cwtch equals cuddle, and are you offering TP? Ooh. Hydrogenation is 5 syllables, and a splendid word it is too. A pudding is apple pie and custard. Sounds like a symptom for requiring Viagra. What does? What does, Matt? Sorry, it's difficult when you're just reading through the comments. You'll know what you're replying to, but I kind of don't. So maybe I shouldn't have read it out. Bollocks is a good English word. Well, yeah, it is. And there's a fascinating history with the word bollocks, which of course was a very famous legal case. Oh, I've got another question for you. Quiz question. Da, 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 da. It's Sale of the Century, live from Norwich. Okay, you're probably familiar with the Sex Pistols case that was brought against them for the use of the word bollocks in their album title, Never Mind the Bollocks. I think it was an album title. What was it? Never Mind the Bollocks, here's the Sex Pistols. And they got done. And their barrister, whose name was John Mortimer, got them off by showing the etymology of the word, and showing that it was historically a word to describe clergymen, amongst other etymological histories. But my question for you is, John Mortimer is famous in legal circles, amongst which I used to move in a small way. But what is John Mortimer more famous for? And who is John Mortimer more famous for? There you go, that's your question. Oh, thank you, George. I watched your channel while sleeping again. Well, you mean you didn't watch it? Have you seen my thumbnail, says Rover Joe? Not that I recall. But I will make a bloody point of looking out for them now, because, well, I'll have to, as will everybody else, because now that you are one of us, Rover Joe, your channel has become a community channel, which means we all have a duty to support it. So, everybody, at some point, not now, not while I'm talking to you, please, if you don't mind, thank you, but at some point, all of you, get your bums onto Rover Joe's channel and make sure that you are subscribed, because it is now one of our community channels. And check out the thumbnails and report back, and I will look later on this afternoon. Rice pudding, it's in the name, it's a sweet dessert. It is indeed. Repagination. Repagination. Excellent 5-syllable word. Black lines, exactly. You mean a steak and kidney pie. And to which James replies, that isn't pudding. A proper pudding is steak and kidney pie in a pastry. Well, that's a pie. Steak and kidney in pastry, pie. Hello. Don't freeze the wine. Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the wine. Steak and kidney pudding and steak and kidney pie are two whole different things, says James, who sounds as if he's getting a bit annoyed. But James, you're not telling us why or how. You've just said that steak and kidney pudding is steak and kidney in pastry, and that's a pie. My brother has depression and anxiety, which I tried to support him with. My late mum was the same, and my mum was not a great cook. Yeah, well, sympathy's there. It's, yeah, dealing with it in other people can be as difficult as dealing with it in yourself. Inconsistently. Another one. Well done, TP. You're on a roll, like a man who fell and landed on the buffet. It's James again on the pie pudding question. One is soft and lovely and the other is dead crunchy. Well, I'm going to call you on that and say, frankly, balls. If you've never eaten a pucker pie, maybe a beef and onion one, from a southern chip shop that's been in the pie warmer for about 3 weeks, nothing crunchy about that, mate. That is as soft and soggy and wonderful as they come. And let me tell you how to eat a pucker pie, right? No cutlery involved. Unwrap the paper that the pie came in, right? It's in its foil case, leave it in there. Remove the pastry lid. Now, the pastry lid is a bit crunchy, I'll give you that. It should be anyway. Then tearing the pastry lid, you use that as a spoon to spoon out the delicious innards of the pie, right? And when you've consumed all of the pastry lid, having used it as a scooping device, what you will be left with is the most fantastic thing ever. The soggy body of that wonderful pie. And you can take it out of the foil thing in its entirety, you can squidge it together, and you can get it down in about 3 bites. And those 3 bites will be the best 3 bites of your life, unless you've been nibbled by Claudia Winkleman. And even then it would still be up there. Don't forget to like, says Jimmy Quinn. That's very kind of you to shout at them, Jimmy. Thank you. Yeah, do please like as many of my videos as you can, so I'm going to get a load of hate for that car review. I know I am. What wine are you drinking tonight, Jason, says Sarah? Cheap stuff, darling. It's not a special occasion. No decent stuff is on offer at the moment. So, it's my default that I drink myself when nothing else is on offer or I've not been given anything particularly nice. And if I have got nice stuff, this is the crap that I give to guests. Sainsbury's, House, dry white, £4.50 a bottle, can't go wrong. As long as it's cold enough, you can just about get it down without being sick. And that is why it goes in the freezer, because you couldn't drink this shit warm. Oh no. We're rattling through it tonight, isn't it? It's going well. I'm rather enjoying myself. I've told you what I'm having for supper, haven't I? I'm having my Chinese chicken curry tonight. I think it's been 2 weeks since I've had it, which is an absolute outrage. And tomorrow's lunch, I don't mind telling you, it's going to be homemade kebab with a bit of naan bread and a lot of salad and some guinea peppers. I'm looking forward to that very much as well. I'd sooner have Schlur than wine, much better tasting too. I've got no idea what that is. I don't like football, says Matt. which again is a bit of a non sequitur, but I don't either. He's gone all Freudian. Check out my Freudian slip showing. Oh, Rogerbotty! Fuck it! I can't. You're so funny. I mean, you're sick, but you're so funny. I can't read any of this out. I'm damned. You and I, Rogerbotty, we need to get drunk together, young man. And sooner rather than later. We might not even need to get drunk, actually. I suspect we probably don't. But we need to have lunch together, Rogerbotty, and we need to have, ideally, we need an evening's of drinking together as well. I might actually die of laughing, but hang on, let me read this. Not quite. Oh, Liz. Yeah, Freudian psychology. Well, Liz is more of an expert on this than I, so I will quite happily defer to her if she wishes to disagree with anything I've said. Oh, no. Oh, Rover Joe, bless you. I haven't really been doing. Oh, I won't read that out actually. You can read it, guys. I don't want to read it out, but oh, that's awful. But yeah, that's shit, mate. That is absolutely shit. But you're feeling better now, and that's brilliant. So that's a thing to concentrate. Onwards and upwards, love. You've got us, and you know, everything happens for a reason. Although it never ever feels like that at the time. But at some point you'll look back and you'll realise it was the right thing. And you know how I know that will happen? Because subconsciously or consciously, we make it happen. You know, Chumbawamba, you get knocked down, you get back up again. So you're feeling better now, a shit thing happened to you, but you'll make it work, you'll work it out. And yeah, get back on the videos, mate. Do the world a good. Oh, it's quite recent as well. You know, you need a bit of time, but you'll bounce back. You will. Oh, it was Matt Streetwise, just washed by somebody else's hands. Oh, he's obviously got staff. Oh, not boring. That's good. Oh, Simone's had a bad day. Didn't even get out of her PJs. You know, sometimes, going back to what we were talking about before, and again, this is just from my personal viewpoint, so don't take it as gospel, all right? But sometimes, when the scales are a little bit too far for you to pull back to the absolute equilibrium, sometimes I will give myself a day off, right? But I do it with caveats. So I accept that for whatever reason, something's happened, whatever it is, and I accept that I'm just going to have what the French call un jour sans. Literally means a day without, but it just means, you know, a bad day, however you want to term it. And sometimes I will just accept that I'm going to have to let the day go, and just wallow. So whatever form wallowing takes for you, whether it means that you don't cook, maybe you don't eat, or you just eat something crap and convenient, or you don't do anything productive, or maybe if you don't have to go to work or whatever, maybe you don't even get dressed. And I accept that sometimes that will happen, but I always tell myself, at the same time that I allow myself to fall into that hole, I tell myself two things: that not to allow it to go too far, you know, to keep it within check. You're having a bad day, you're not having a bad life, you're not having a bad month, you're not having a bad year, you're having a bad day, and you're giving yourself un jour sans. But tomorrow morning, brand new day in the morning, my love. It's always a new day in the morning. It will be, the sun will rise, it will be a brand new day, and when you wake to face that day, you will always have the choice of whether to make that day a good day, a productive day, or a bad day. And if you have a bad day, allow yourself it. Don't allow it to go too far. Don't allow it to become destructive. Um, but always remember that there will be a fresh dawn, and that's a new opportunity. It's like an Etch-a-Sketch. Shake it, wipe the slate clean, and you can just start again in the morning. And it doesn't matter that you had a bad day the day before. You can get up. You can take joy wherever there is joy to be taken, and don't wait for joy to come along to you. Seek it, actively seek it, make joy happen, whether that's going out for a walk, going out for a drive, seeing a loved one, having a oh no, you can't say that, cooking a nice meal, listening to a favourite album. Seek joy. Seek it, and then grab it by the throat and get every little bit of joy out of it. Okay, psychology has many paradigms. Each is more effective if used in tandem with others. No argument there. But you know, sometimes you have to kind of do entry level stuff and deal with one step at a time. But I mean, obviously you're absolutely correct. Having a bad day is not the same as depression, though, in my opinion. I would argue that it can be. Liz agrees with you. I slightly disagree, because again, we're talking about the difference between reactive depression and chronic depression, and I think that a depression that is reactive to a certain thing and causes a bad day, I would absolutely say that that is depression. To my mind, reactive depression is no, or can be, no less distressing than a chronic depression, except that it should, of course, in theory, be much more short-lived and therefore more livable with. But that's where I think that insight becomes even more important, because if you have the insight and the awareness that you're suffering from a reactive depression, then that will give you the tools to deal with it, because it gives you an automatic light at the end of the tunnel that that might not have been there otherwise. It's a difference between somebody saying you're depressed, which feels like a bloody interminable prison sentence, and somebody saying you're depressed, but perhaps you're depressed because certain things have happened that have made you feel sad and blue and perhaps a bit hopeless, but that will pass. Bear with it, work with it, you know. Should turn into group therapy, isn't it? Would you say, says Skik, or S-K-I-K, would you say mustard is slightly eccentric? Do you know, I don't think I would. I don't think I would. I would say that mustard is in some ways creative, in some ways chooses not to go along with the norm, but is that eccentric? Possibly, but to me, because I'm the same, to me it's normal. So perhaps it's natural that I wouldn't identify with that as being eccentric, but I'm sure that other people would, and I'm sure that many people would consider that I'm eccentric. I can't actually remember the true definition of the word eccentric. I'm trying to think about eccentric and how it's applied in engineering terms, which would probably give a true root of the word. And if it means not something along the lines of not perfectly in keeping with the norm, then yeah, I suppose I would say that he is eccentric, and so am I. Brain fog is the worst feeling. Yeah, because it's difficult to battle against. It's all encompassing. It's like a blanket that holds you down. Matt, yeah, I completely agree with you, mate. Completely agree with you. And for what it's worth, I think that you're bang on, and I'd say that you're going down the correct route in my book. You know, having lived with a father who, in my view, needlessly became utterly dependent upon medication, which he was wrongly prescribed because at the time they didn't realize how incredibly addictive it became if prescribed for more than like a couple of weeks, and my old man was prescribed it for about 20 years. And then, and how destructive it is when you then try and wean them off it. Which they did, and which, you know, is part of what killed him. I knew all about those bloody pills, and quite honestly, at the stage he was at, certainly after my mother died, if I could have bought those pills on the black market, I would have bought them and bugger the consequences, because his life would have been longer and it would have been better. That was one of those occasions where a wrong makes a right, but you know, he should never have been on them in the first place. He didn't need chemical intervention. What he needed was something like CBT, although I'm not sure if it would have worked for him because he was too intellectual, and he was able to dominate any situation, and he would have purely dominated the therapist, to his own detriment, of course. Anyway, spaghetti first, says Steve. I'm a savage, says Liz. People should mush up their own spag bowl, that's half the fun. It's better served as a splodge, though it comes out as a splat, according to Nathan. I do spag bowl, spaghetti one side and bowl the other side, says Bad Books. You weirdo. Does anybody else do that? Splat on the spag, then mush it up. Well, that is the Italian way, isn't it? Who swirls the spag bowl on a spoon with their fork? Well, that's a thing, isn't it? That's how you. How else do you eat it? That's how my gran did it. My wife always thinks it's weird. Oh, lovely. Thank you, Boaty. You should do that more often. Christ, what did I do to you? Oh, right, the Welsh thing. I got Welcome to the Pleasuredome on tape, the album. I need to come back to that. I need to get through these comments. Diddly-doo. Stephen S. Paul is with us, fabulous. A spag bowl cook along in honour of the FSM? Totally, we need to do that. Oh, fucking hell, Rogerbotty. I do believe I may be busted. Do you and Mustard both believe I'm the same person? No, Mustard thinks you're somebody else, but I'm convinced that I know who you are. He thinks that you are somebody else because somebody else has stopped commenting at about the same time that you came along, Mr George Rogerbotty. But I think that other person just stopped commenting. Maybe he doesn't like my videos anymore. Maybe he doesn't like the live streams, whatever. And I think that you are somebody who seldom commented before, but having now taken on the persona of Mr. George Rogerbotty, have become a lot more prevalent. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Pudding is a kind of suet pudding, so not pastry. Not easy to explain, says Liz. Well, that was how I understood it, Liz. I said that pudding was a suet pastry, but James said no, absolutely not, and shouted me down. And he is apparently the expert on puddings, so apparently we are wrong. I saw a beautiful young lady sitting outside a cafe today, enjoying her ciggy. Got to admire her commitment. It was not exactly warm outside. Oh, James is back with his pudding is soft and pie is crunchy. No. When I make pie, not crunchy. A pudding is made from, oh, hang on. Because the pudding was made in Lancashire. James, I'm not sure you actually know what a pudding is, but Jimmy Quinn is weighing in with, a pudding is made from suet and meat and is steamed in water. Now, that is an answer that I can get on board with. I knew a pudding involved suet, and now that it's been mentioned, I remember about the steaming in water. So I'm going to take Jimmy Quinn's answer as a definitive answer to what is a pudding. It's made from suet and meat and it's steamed in water. It was Virgin Records who had the Never Mind the Bollocks law case, indeed. Bad Books has answered the question correctly, Rumpole of the Bailey. John Mortimer, the Sex Pistols barrister, was the chap who wrote Rumpole of the Bailey, one of the finest series of books ever written, and one of those very, very rare things where something transferred to television and the television was as good as the book. That very, very seldom happens. I can think of very few. Rumpole is one of them. Leo McKern was perfect. Alan Plater's The Beiderbecke trilogy. Again, perfect casting with James Bolam, Barbara Flynn, Terence Rigby, Dominic, what's his name, and the other chaps. And Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister. Although technically, well, the scripts came first. The scripts did come first because it was radio before it was TV, wasn't it? There are probably others that I can't think of off the top of my head. Feel free to shout out any of your own. Television programmes based on books, or films, if you like, where the thing was as good as or better than the book. My argument would be 99% of the time, the book is always better than the television or the film. Because when you read a book, you give the characters the voices that you want to give them. And then when you watch it on television, they haven't got the right voice and they're not reading it in the right way and they're not interpreting the characters in the way that you did. Oh, right, don't freeze your wine, yes. Oh, Steve has been watching Rover Joe since he had a maroon Rover 25. I need to catch up with Rover Joe. Obviously, I've got to do it now, anyway, because it's a community channel. I have that duty. But Mustard often talks about you and did an impersonation of you. So you're obviously held in very high regard. I must have seen one of your videos. I must have, because they're Rover and I've seen all of the Rover videos. I'll probably remember when I watch it. I just haven't made a connection with the name. What about Fray Bentos pies, says Lynn. In a tin, soggy and crunchy all at once. Well, what about them? I mean, if you don't like a Fray Bentos pie, I don't care how much of a foodie you are. I'm a huge foodie. If you can't eat an entire Fray-Bentos pie out of the tin with a spoon, then you're not normal, because a Fray-Bentos pie is a thing of such pure perfectness that it's not even up for debate. When do we see the birthday wine? I'm looking forward to seeing how bad my choice was when you spit it out live on camera. There's going to be no spitting out. Your choice was superb. And I'm saving it for spring and a special occasion. And it will probably be taken outside. I don't want to sully wine as good as that. And I've got a couple of other bottles as well that have kindly been given to me. And they're going to be for spring and summer outdoors. I'm not going to waste them on a winter's evening when I'm holed up in the dining room of the cottage. They deserve better than that. They deserve the freedom of the open air. White wine always tastes better in the open air when it's warm. When it's warm and the wine is cold, and it's a balmy atmosphere. So keep your powder dry, Matt. I can't drink alcohol. I get severe headaches from it. My sincere condolences. Sarah says Yellowtail's Pinot Grigio is a good value wine, under a fiver, lovely chilled. Everything's grand if it's, well, white wine, as long as it's fairly dry, like a number 1 or a number 2 or at a push a number 3 on the dry scale. Get it cold enough, it's drinkable. Oh, Rogerbotty. Oh, good man, Rover. I look back and think I dodged a bullet. Yeah, but I'm sure that there's still a part of you that's hurting. Fucking hell, we've all been there, mate. I go through it. I've been split up with Chinese madam we've been split up over a year now. And I regularly think back and think, did I make a bloody stupid mistake there? Was I crazy? The life I could have had with that woman, you know, bearing in mind that she was already rich, she was going to become even more rich. She was young. She had a child that she was planning to bring over from China. Lovely lad. I spoke to him, you know, I did loads of video stuff with him. And he was going to live with us, and you know, I was going to help raise him, and we were going to buy the place in Wales, and it was all going to be wonderful. And you know, I look back and I think, did I make? And she was young and beautiful, and kind and sweet and funny and talented and clever. And some, you know, sometimes in weaker moments, I think, you know, you fucking idiot, Boaty. What the fuck did you do that for? Because, of course, you forget at the time just how intolerable many things were. And then there's also the thing where you suddenly think, you know, fuck, I'm old. I'm falling apart. Things are falling out. Things are, you know, my looks, such as they ever were, have completely gone down the Swanee. I've got sod all going for me. The chances are that Chinese madam will be my last ever relationship. There's a very strong probability that I'll never have another relationship. I'll never find love again. And that's probably the reason why I look back and think I've been stupid, because at the time I was in absolutely no doubt. And as much as I thought the world of her, it was such a relief when she went. Such a relief. And that's nothing personal against her. And although I joke about it, it wasn't the morning potterings. It was just a clash of lifestyles. And in many ways, my life was totally taken away from me. And I wanted my life back. Now, if I could do it all over again, I would never have allowed it to get to that stage. I would have managed it better. But it did get to that stage, and it became intolerable, and there you are. And, you know, I've got a great life. I'm happy, and if I never have another girlfriend, so I never have another girlfriend. It's okay. I mean, I've got female friends, um, but I mean, if I never have another committed long-term relationship, then so be it. I mean, if one came along, great, but the chances are it won't. I mean, God Almighty, what have I got to offer anybody? Less than nothing. But there we are. Anyway, the point is, Rover Joe, it's it's good that is at least part, even if a part of you still is hurting, then you're moving in the right direction. It's a relatively recent thing, and things will get better. Hidden comment. Oh, okay. Get some more candles. I do need some more candles. The problem is that these candles are from Tesco, and I haven't been to Tesco for ages, because that means an extra trip to a shop, and I hate trips to shops. I don't mind going to Sainsbury's because I do that on work time. I always need to get bits for the restaurant. I get my own bits while I'm there. Going to Tesco would mean stopping at Tesco on the way home from work, which is eating into my time. And now I've got live streams to do. I haven't got time to whiz off to Tesco willy-nilly. And it's not like I can just do it during the day. I mean, a trip to Tesco is a 2 to 3 hour trip, which takes a bloody big chunk out of your day. And when you've got underpants to wash and videos to edit or videos to make, and on your day off you sod off up to a godforsaken yard in the wilds near Rochdale, you don't get all that much time to whittle off to Tesco. I've seen the effects of long-term pharmaceutical use on my mum, so I prefer to, singing off the same hymn sheet there, Matt. Rogerbotty's off on one tonight. He really is. I hope your glass is sitting on your birthday coaster, says the lovely Sarah. The birthday coaster is deployed in the front parlour, where I have a shearsome rosewood table like this, but a smaller version in the front parlour. Now, this table here just gets treated roughly. It has no coasters, it has no placemats. My dishes go on it, my drinks go on it. Several women have gone on it, if that's not too much information. And I polish it now and then, and it is what it is. It's a used, loved table that doesn't get any special treatment. Whereas the table in the parlour is a beautiful table, still in its first flush of wonderfulness. So when and if I ever have drinks in the parlour again, which is something that I normally do when I've got company of a female kind, that is where and when the coaster will be deployed. Hello, the Master Chief is with us. Marvellous. I tried a Fray Bentos chicken pie, says Simone. It was crap. Oh. Should have had the steak and ale pie, or the beef and onion. Chicken pies are never any good. Oh dear. Right, yeah. Sorry to hear that, Bad Bucks. Again, Jimmy Quinn says, I must be lucky. I've been with my wife for over 40 years. Yeah, possibly lucky, possibly, possibly you've both worked at the relationship, but congratulations. That's a long chunk of time to be with somebody, and bloody good for you. Good for you. My grandparents were together forever. My parents were together a long time. And I intended to die being married to my wife. So maybe it's symptomatic of today's society. People are too quick to jump out. Although I know that there's the immediate argument there that when divorce was less available, then people, predominantly women, let's be honest, were forced to endure bad, harmful, abusive relationships. But anyway, get a Tesco delivery. Yeah, but I mean, you have to have a proper amount of stuff. You know, I only want 2 candles. They're £1 each. There's not that much. I can't. I mean, what would I get? You have to get, and you have to be in for a 2-hour period or something. And have I caught up? I genuinely believe, says Black Lines, that the key to a successful relationship is to have your own life and interests outside of it, with the trust that goes along with it. I have to totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. I've always thought that a relationship should be 2 individuals choosing to come together and adding to each other. I've never believed that a relationship is 2 people who mould into one and have all of the same likes and do all of the same things. That, to me, that's nonsense. That's 2 people compromising and taking away from each other because they're not being themselves. In all of my relationships, there's been absolute trust. I've never cheated on anybody, and to the best of my knowledge, I've never been cheated on, and I've never been jealous, and I've never been distrustful, because I've never been in a relationship with somebody who would give me cause to have those thoughts. Neither have I ever given cause to. So, for example, when I was married and my wife left the NHS and took a job where she was jet setting all over the world on expenses, doing incredible things, including going to Iceland to train the Icelandic health service. You know, if she was gone for a week or whatever, and she didn't text me or message me or ring me for a night or 2 nights or 3 nights or the whole week, never a problem. She's off doing her thing. I did my thing. It was never an issue. And often we did things together and would take an interest in each other's things, but there were some things that we didn't. And we did work together for a long period of time, but we also worked apart, and that was never an issue. But yeah, I completely agree with you. It should be, you know, a relationship shouldn't take away from your individuality. Of course, you have to make some compromises for a relationship. You can't live like a single man or a single woman, but that shouldn't mean giving up your own identity or sacrificing your own interests. Neither should you have to take, should you have to be involved with what your other half is doing necessarily. If you've got different interests, you should be able to enjoy them individually without an issue. The point is that you come home together at the end of the night, you have a glass of wine together, you have a bit of supper together, and you go to bed together, and it's all good. Where did I get to? No, don't be sorry, Matt. Oh, gosh, Simone. I'm 47 in April. Haven't been in a relationship since I was 31. Well, there we are. There we are. Have you been okay with that? I know it's fatuous to say, has it been your choice? Because, you know, on the one hand, I'm sure that the vast majority of people who are single would say that if they could find the perfect person, they would prefer to be in a relationship than to be alone. I know I would. I guess where the choice comes in is that, you know, there's a limit to how far you're willing to compromise in order to achieve the relationship. And so the choice is, I suppose, to not settle for second best, as you might see it. And that being single is better than being with the wrong person. But there's also something else to throw in there. And it's not a popular thing to say. I say it in singles and people don't like it. But some people are single because they're not ready for a relationship themselves. They're not sorted with themselves. And unless you're sorted with yourself, you're not going to have a successful relationship. I learned that the hard way. It took me a long time. I mean, I had relationships, but I had them because I was deemed attractive or deemed successful or deemed desirable or whatever. But if I got into another relationship now, then, and how can I put this? I could make an argument that any problems in any relationship that I had up to a certain point, you could make a very cogent, it's a bit frozen, you can make a very cogent argument that I was at the very least partially to blame for the relationship not being ideal or perhaps breaking down or whatever. Ironically, it was always me that ended them. If I had to put my hand on my heart, I could say that the relationships I've had since my divorce, I have been, as near as damn it, faultless. I've been completely aware of myself, completely aware of aspects of my personality, completely aware of my lifestyle, and I've done everything that I should do and nothing that I shouldn't do. Every relationship before that, I hadn't reached that point of insight and awareness. The last two relationships, I look back on them and there's nothing that I can or should reproach myself for. Every relationship before that, I can look back and say, yeah, you were, maybe if not wrong, then you weren't, how can I put it? You weren't entirely conducive to the relationship. Sometimes it's not even about you doing stuff wrong. It's about your reaction when they do something that you perceive as imperfect or wrong or whatever. And if I had the mindset that I have now, if I had the mindset that I have now when I was married, I would probably still be married, because I would have been able to deal with her mental health difficulties and her ways and the things that she said. I would be able to react to them a lot more differently, and I would be able to cope with them better, and I would have been able to stop them becoming, anyway, that's enough of all of that. If I ever got into another relationship, then I would be the best version of me. And, you know, isn't it ironic that mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we become the best versions of ourselves at a time where physically we're totally fucked and nobody would be remotely interested in us unless we were already married and somebody had already fallen in love with us. That is the problem of being divorced or single when you're terribly old, is that in many ways you're the best person that you've ever been, but in one pivotal way, the way that you look or move or sound, you're the worst that you've ever been, and you're nothing short of a bloody liability. Oh dear. Regarding the YouTubes, I'm hopefully going to be doing a big series on a Honda Restore at the moment. Same shape as the Rover 400/45. That'd be interesting. Oh, that's nice. Simone's missed Joe's videos. And he may do one tomorrow. Toast rack deployment. Excellent. Oh, mic's off. Good night. Oh, this is an interesting one. Let's throw this one out there. Simone says, I hate being on my own. Should I tell someone who I've been friends with for 25 years that I've always had feelings for them? I'm not going to answer that, but I would be interested to hear your answers. Simone hates being on her own. Should she tell someone who she's been friends with for 25 years that she's always had feelings for said friend? Can I ask one question before they answer? Is the friend single and available? Because that will... Oh, you're all answering it anyway. Oh, okay. Oh, good luck for the morning, Mike. All right, you've all gone ahead and answered it, so... Oh, right. Okay. Well, that could carry on the Simone situation. Part of me wishes I could just get Bernard completely out of my mind and get off her hook so that I could at least actually put myself out there just in case there is somebody. But the problem is, every time she sends me a message or rings me, even though I know it's not going to go anywhere because it never has, I just think, oh, well, that would be perfect. That's what you should be working towards. Oh, I've done it again. It's 10 to 1. What happened to the hour? Right. Before, I was talking about getting the music of our teenage years or whatever. You remember I was talking about that? And I told you I bought the Runaway Horses album and so on and so on and so on. Now, amazingly, and this is how in sync we are, you and me, I bought another one and it was delivered by the postman this afternoon, and I listened to the entire album on the way to and from work tonight, and it was fabulous. And amazingly, it's been mentioned in this live stream, not by me. Let me show you what I bought and what was delivered today. Can you see that? Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Welcome to the Pleasuredome. I can't remember when I last listened to this. It was probably when I was in my early teens, and if memory serves, I listened to it on cassette, on a Walkman. Probably wasn't actually a Walkman, it was probably a generic copy of a Walkman, because no way could we have afforded a Sony Walkman. It would have been a Goodman's or whatever Dixon's used to sell at that time. Oh, Dixon's in the Kingfisher Centre, Redditch. I can even remember where it was. And I listened to it while doing a paper round to get a few quid. Yeah, I used to do paper rounds, morning and evening ones, because I got a load of shit at school once because I turned up for football without having any football boots, and I got into trouble for that. And the reason I didn't have football boots was because my parents couldn't afford to buy any. So I got paper rounds so that I could buy my own bits and pieces like that. And I did these paper rounds, and I couldn't afford to buy any new ones. And I went through the local paper, the Redditch Advertiser, went through the classifieds, found some football boots in the right size-ish, got on a bus. I can't remember how old I was. I wasn't very old. I was probably only 8, 9, something like that. 7, 8, 9. Which school was I at? I must have been in middle school. Schools are different now, I think. We did primary school, middle school and high school. You went to 3 schools when I was a kid. I think kids normally only go to 2 now, don't they? Well, actually, I went to 4 because I went to prep school before I went to... Well, I mean, literally, I went to more schools. But in terms of tiers of schools, I actually went to 4 because I went to prep school. But yeah, I got on a bus to Woodrow, to another council estate, and bought these second-hand football boots. And the nice lady took pity on me and gave me 2 football annuals, which I wasn't really into football, to be honest, and I can't stand it now. But anyway, the point is that this came today, and I listened to it in the car. What a fucking fantabulous album. Absolutely, what an amazing album. And I didn't realise it at the time, but that must have introduced me to all sorts of things. I mean, the opening track, well, actually, the opening 2 tracks, The World Is My Oyster and Welcome to the Pleasuredome. You know, what a brilliant production. That's a production piece. And, you know, it set me up for all sorts of things that I would learn to love in the future. This is a really good album. And I've completely forgotten how good an album it was. And I loved the way that they played about with some of the covers that they did. For example, I'd completely forgotten that this was the first version of Born to Run. The only version that I knew for a long, long time. Frankie's cover of it. But look at the way that they prefaced it. Giving it that Liverpudlian thing where if you're not listening to the album, it goes... oh, what was it? The guys in the Dole office. What's it? I'm sorry, I've forgotten my card. And you're late as well. That's 3 times in a row. If you're late again, the supervisor says we've got to put you on daily signing. Ha! And then Born to Run kicks in, and it is mega. And there's Prince Charles talking about orgasms. That was the first time I'd heard about an orgasm. I had no idea what the friggin' hell it was. And didn't have for some years afterwards either. It's just a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant album. And I didn't know that they were gay. I had absolutely no idea. I remember watching Top of the Pops and thinking that the guy with the moustache was really cool. I still think he's cool. It doesn't matter that he's gay. The gay thing, I've never given a hoot about that, to be honest. I love gay men. Well, I don't love them in that way. Well, I do actually. Well, no. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm very, very comfortable in the company of gay men. I don't even mind when they try it on with me. I take it as a compliment. I've been told more than once. I had a residency singing in a gay nightclub. And I was told more than once that I was a terrible waste, a terrible loss to the gay community. Are you absolutely sure? I mean, have you ever tried? You might like it. No, I haven't, and no, I wouldn't. But anyway, there you are. This is a brilliant album. I will never stop playing this. And it's amazing that some of you guys have mentioned it in the stream tonight. I'm trying to figure out. This is a weird thing. Do any of you guys do this? I'm trying to figure out which music should go in which car. And I'm trying to tailor the music to the car, right? And I'm struggling a bit with it. I might get you guys to help me. In fact, I will. So, for example, um, a friend gave me an album once that I've always really liked, and I've forgotten what it's called, and I've forgotten who it's by. That's helpful, isn't it? You know the one I mean. You know the one I mean. The parody album with Jack Black and what's it called? Um, oh, Tenacious D. Tenacious D. I love that album. I think it's genius. I think it's brilliant. I was in my 30s when somebody gave me that. Now, that is a big, hairy, masculine album, in my view. So, that album is in Stigbert von Thundercock, because in my mind, he's a big, hairy, masculine car. The I've got a couple of albums. What are they? There's I've spoken to you about them before. There's the Pretenders, I Love You, and there's the Madonna album that I apparently should be ashamed of having, but I've explained to you before why I've got it. That day in Belgium, driving Johnny Carlson's Team BMW for Team Fagor across Belgium and Flanders for the Tour de Flanders with a sensationally beautiful girl, and it would be indiscreet to mention that her name was Juliet Forden, and oh my god, so that's why I've got that album. But those two albums, they're in Shison, because in my mind they belong in Shison, and I've kind of been factoring in whether new car might come. I've still heard nothing about it, and I'm starting to wonder, maybe it's gone dead. But if it did come along, I've been thinking what music should go. And Runaway Horses is such a good track. I think that might be a convertible track. And I think the Runaway Horses album, which I thought would go in Shison, and it's in Shison at the moment, I think that might be a new car album. And this one, I'm torn as to whether this is a Stigbert album, a Brian Johnston album, or potentially a new car album. And I would welcome your input. Oh, look at the time. I've done it again. Oh my God, I can't help myself. Oh, Rover Joe. Good on you, mate. Keep us. I like all of this stuff that we're sharing now. Please keep it coming. I'm genuinely heartened that you feel able to share, and God knows I've probably overshared myself. Maybe I've done a lot of jokey and show-offy stuff, but I've tried to share a bit of. I will share all of my personal stuff as well, and I think it's lovely that you guys are, and I think it's great that we can discuss it, and I think it will stay like this. The live streams will anyway. We can't control who watches a video, but we can control how the live streams go, and the dynamic will be dictated not by me, but by us or by you guys. And so that means anybody new who comes along, if they're not the type to fit in with us, they simply won't come to another one. And that means that the dynamic that we set for these, are they live streams or is it just time that we spend together? I like to think it's time we spend together. And we can keep that the way it is, which means that we can keep sharing. And I love that we're sharing this stuff. And I think that we should keep up with it and keep each other updated with stuff. So Joe's been talking with someone, and a few flirty comments, and there's been talk of a meet-up and doing something nice together. We've got the Simone situation with, should she tell a friend of 25 years standing that there are feelings there, and the obvious fear of losing the friendship for the sake of suggesting it becoming something more. Yeah, Matt, best hour-long live streams on YouTube. I've done it again, haven't I? It's 1 o'clock. That's it. That is it. Some good stuff coming in here. Some really good stuff. if you get caught up in the comments at the time, or you're trying to listen to me, do go back to the live streams and go back to the comments and work through them. And you know, they don't have to be a snapshot in time. We can carry it on the next go. I'll be guided by you guys. You guys carry on the conversation in the next one and the one after, and you know, we'll roll with it. There won't be a next one now until Sunday night, will there? We've got a couple of days break, my loves. I'm really going to miss you. I'm genuinely going to miss you. I wouldn't do this if I didn't love it. And I guess that you guys wouldn't endure it if you didn't get something from it too. So it's all kind of wonderful. Oh, Simone says, I welded my Cortina in Redditch. Did you really? Whereabouts? Whereabouts? What were you doing in Redditch? That's a long way from where you hang out. I'd love to know the story behind that. Is it in one of your videos? Should I watch that and catch up with some of my old haunts? If it's in a vid, tell me which one I should look at, or which ones, or have you got a playlist? You know, I'm not a huge fan of Reddit, but it's part of my history, so I've got a soft spot for it. And it was a much better place when I was a kid, when it was a new town. There was lots of green around that's since all been built on. My childhood has been built on The Pick of Destiny. Wasn't that the second one, The Pick of Destiny? Was the first one just called Tenacious D? It's the first one I've got. I know there was a film with the second one that had Meatloaf in it. Oh, you have a playlist. Quiet Story of the Cat. Okay, I will catch up with that, and I will look forward to seeing some Reddit stuff. Guys, it's that time. Oh, should we wait until Sarah comes back? I think she's gone to the loo or something. Let's give it a couple of minutes. The wine's defrosting. I've still got some Chinese chicken curry to make. I've actually got to make it. I haven't got any ready done. What time is it? Oh, it's 1 o'clock. It's not too bad. I can be eating before 2 and in bed before 3. Oh, and I think the lunch video might just about get out. Oh, I believe. Oh, Jimmy, bless you. Thank you so much. Oh, another super sticker from Jimmy. That's really kind, mate. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, God, Black Line's up at 6. Yeah, get off with you. Go to bed, you mad fool. Should have been in bed hours ago. The lunch video might go out. I found a program to put it through. And it has got rid of some of the background noise, so it has made the voices sound a little bit weird. But it'll be better. Well, maybe better than nothing. I wonder how my other video is doing. I wonder how that video is doing. Let's have a quick look, just out of interest. God, I bet I'm getting some hate for it. You guys have been lovely. You always are. Let's just have a look. Oh, a few more subscribers from the last time I looked. That's nice. Oh, it's doing well. By my standards, it's doing well. It's been up since 7 o'clock tonight. Shall I show you? Why don't I share this with you? I don't hide anything from you. No. You can have it. Oh God, can you actually see that? In my screen, you can't see that. Maybe in your screen you can. Let me have a look on this screen. Let me see. No, you can't see, can you? No, you can't see. But anyway, it went out at 19:19 tonight, which is when I try and put them out. It's had 192 views so far, which isn't a lot by many standards, but by my standards it is, which means that it's number 1 of 10 of the top performing of the last 10 videos at that time point. The next best had done 188 at the same time point, and that was driving back from picking up Shison. So it's doing reasonable numbers, but let's have a look at the in-depth analytics, and let's have a look at the like stroke dislike doings, because I think I'm going to get shit for it. Maybe not tonight, because tonight it'll probably just be seen by my normal lot who won't be annoyed by it. But I think it might be one of those that carries on picking up views, a bit like some of my collection videos. And I think people are going to be really, really annoyed by it. Let's have a look. YouTube search terms. Car throttle. What's car throttle? Why would people search for it? And why would it bring up my video? No idea. Content suggesting this video. Losing time, losing something. Oh, Hubnut is Hubnut Daihatsu engine thing. Top Gear Australia and the Airgun Show are all suggesting this video. Let's have a look at the audience. 60% subscribed, 40% not subscribed. Oh, here we are, likes versus dislikes. Oh, it's still 100% likes. That's handy. I don't think it's going to stay like that, my loves. I really don't, but you know, maybe we'll get lucky. There's loads of reviews of Rover 75s of all sorts out there. There are good ones, there are in-depth ones, there are personalised ones. There's loads. You can get all of the information that you need. So what am I, you know, realistically, there've been reviews and road tests of Rovers going up by everybody for years and years and years. What am I going to add to that? I'm not going to say anything that somebody hasn't said or pointed out, or information that hasn't been given before. So maybe it's a good thing that I just go on with mustard and dick about and talk about bloody hot pots in a hot tub. Maybe that will be more interesting, and maybe people will... Oh, I know what I meant to look at. Hold on. Yeah, maybe people will enjoy it and will think, well, this is a bit different, and at least it made me laugh, and maybe they'll subscribe to the channel. Who knows? It's 1:10. I need to go. You need to go. Say good night, everybody. Right, good night to everybody who's... how many? Oh, 19 still watching. Good night to you all. Oh, Sarah's back. We can go now. I've really enjoyed tonight, my loves, and thank you for being here as always, and thank you for sharing some personal stuff. You know, this is going to sound really fucking cheesy, but I do feel a little bit closer to you all tonight, and I think that what we've got going here is a really nice thing, and may it at least continue, and you know, perhaps with the right people maybe it will grow, but it's entirely worthwhile and lovely just as it is, and I love it, and it's a really important part of my life, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. Yeah, there we are. So it's a bit of a break now, isn't it? It's Thursday, isn't it? So we've got Friday and Saturday, and then we'll be back together on Sunday night at 11, when I'll be dreading getting up the next morning for... I always dread getting up on the Monday morning because, God, I'm so tired. But of course, you know, I'm eagerly anticipating the day. Now, I hoped it would be a collection day next Monday, but that's not looking likely. And as I've heard nothing at all from the chap, I'm kind of assuming that perhaps it's actually all off. And if it is, it is. If it happens, it happens. But there we are. Right. I need supper. You guys need sleeps. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Have a wonderful weekend, whatever you're doing. Keep your chins up, all of you, especially those of you who for whatever reasons, maybe struggle. Remember that even when the live streams aren't on, the Facebook group is always there. And we should be treating the Facebook group just like the live stream. That's what it's there for. It's still us, it's still community. It doesn't have to be immediate. You can drop in and drop out. So, do use it. Yeah, there we are. Okay, time to say goodnight. Have a great weekend. Keep your chins up. Stay safe, stay warm, stay lovely, and take bloody good care of yourself and take joy wherever you can. And I'll see you Sunday. I love this tune. Ow! Don't forget those spaghetti bolognese, my love. Let's see those on Facebook. I'm going to go shopping some onions. Bye bye. Love you. Oh, almost first time.